All right. Also, maybe we should introduce ourselves for the 10 people that are gonna watch this.
Oh yeah, introductions in the part two.
Yeah, because we didn't do that last time. We're
I
just
know
like,
we just
oh,
started
it's for our
talking.
friends. Well, I'm Dano,
I'm Luke. That feels so weird.
and that's it. That's all we are.
That's
We're
our
just names.
introductions. Yeah.
Just just some wastemans from the GTA slash not GTA exported from the GTA.
No, I'm still a GTA man at heart.
Yeah, you could take the man out of the Brampton, but not the Brampton out of the man.
Out of the mans.
Out of the mans. Um, well, spoiler alert. This book's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this was fucking great. And
Like
chapter 7 is fucking crazy too.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. That's like this is the one chapter I've been. I don't know if it's my favorite chapter. It's close though.
I think
It's tied for a chapter later after this.
yeah, or yeah, no, chapter 9, that's when shit gets crazy.
I was literally about to say chapter 9 is the other one, but I don't know. Maybe when we start talking about it, I might change my mind. But yeah, I find I give a lot of books like 8s and 9s, mostly because a lot of my bookshelf is stuff I already know I'm gonna like. Like I don't buy books physically if I don't have like a good feeling about it.
No, I'm the same way.
But very few I'll give like a perfect 10. I think this is a perfect 10.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a while since I gave a book like a 5 out of 5, but this one was great. Not what I expected at all, but I loved it.
No, and I wasn't even sure how it was gonna wrap up, but it just made sense, you know. It didn't overstay its welcome.
No, 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 not at all. You want to get right into it?
Yeah. Let's get into chapter 7. A day with Vey / drunk on simultaneous time.
Oh, you got all the chapter titles too? Let's get it.
Oh yeah, I have to. I can't just stop halfway. Some of them aren't my best work, but you know.
I'll be judging them as we go along.
Yeah, of course. Got to do what you got to do. So, Chev finds a letter in his pocket, accusing him of siding with the oppressor and that he should join the layman resistance that he is completely oblivious to because he's been honeypot sheltered.
Yep. Yeah, I thought this part was interesting because he, like when he finds the note, he's like confused at first. Like, what are they talking about? I'm one of the good guys.
Yeah, he's like, I'm here to share my knowledge with everyone, but
yeah. But this
yeah,
chapter is also when he like finally kind of accepts. He's like, wait, I've been like bought. Like
it's the I forget what it's from. I think it's Blackadder. Where he's like, "Are we the baddies?"
Yeah, literally. He has like that little contemplation. He's like, wait a second, what am I doing here?
So he finally ventures out into the city to talk to the unpropertied. That's what I'm gonna call them. Well, that's what they technically call themselves. It's just the truth. But it doesn't really work because no one's really interested in talking to him. Like he tries so hard, but they just see him as this pinnacle of elitism.
Yeah.
I think this is the first chapter we learn about how they get their names, like they're named from a computer, the Anaresti.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense because all up until now I'm like, where are they coming up with these names?
Yeah.
And they're all exactly 5 or 6 letters. Like there's no exceptions.
Oh,
So
I didn't
like,
even notice that. I just was just like, yo, their names be weird.
Yeah, I noticed it early, and then they said it. They're like, it gives you a 5 or 6 letter name, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I think it's pretty rad. We also have a revolution going on in Ben Billy, which to this point we haven't really known about. We knew there's a war in Thu, but this is kind of like a side spawning conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Shevek is absolutely disgusted by AIOs. You know, they're just sending war machines, and the war is such a foreign concept to Anaresti people, so he's just like, this place is pretty fucked.
Yeah, and also like that conflict kind of like opened his eyes to like what an actual revolution is, because it's like a what? It was like a small poor country, and there's like a military dictatorship, and then the people there are like doing like an actual revolution. So then he's like, wait,
well,
like,
I
what am I really doing here?
I think Thu is the one that's more the socialist government, and Ben Billy is like, well, we learn about it a little bit later. Ben Billy is like, they're Odonians that just haven't escaped. Like they've adapted Odo's stuff, at least as far as we know. Like, we don't go there, so it's hard to give a full like breakdown of what's going on, but they are Odonians trying to do their own little revolution, but it's being put down pretty hard.
Yeah.
Where was I? Okay, yeah, fucked up my mic. He reveals that he's very close to his temporal theory, but he burned it all before he left Inaris, because he couldn't figure out there was a flaw, and he didn't want to. He just felt like he needed a hard reset. And he also, this is actually a funny scene right after he reveals that. He goes to like an art gallery and he just starts talking mad shit to this art dealer. he's like, this stuff is crap. You call this art? And this is where he meets up with Vey. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was about to say the same thing. Like this whole thing with her. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, this is all him just walking around, and then he finally meets up with this absolute savage woman.
Bro, this guy was pissing me off. This guy has a girl. This guy's so down bad for this chick.
I mean, the weird thing is, it's kind of like, it's hard to judge him because
I'm judging
Anaresti culture. Oh, no, I am too. Like, Takfur is like, I want a Takfur in my life. But
yeah, bro.
But like, their culture is so like anti-monogamous that also, I mean, this guy was probably so horned up being cooped up in that fucking hotel room.
He's just like, well, it's like he's even saying, he's like, oh, he hears like Takfur's voice in his head being like, careful, this girl's trouble. And he's like, yeah, but I'm trying to get licked.
So yeah, he spends the day shopping and eating, and they go back to her apartment, and he has an interesting view on her. He calls her a body profiteer, because at first he thinks she's like an escort. He's like, holy shit, is this what a prostitute is? Because he only knew the definition. He never met one in his life. But then this is also another crazy reveal. I love how Anaresti culture they give you like little tidbits of it, and it kind of reframes shit that you read earlier. So Anaresti women just have their tits out all the time. That's just a thing that they just casually reveal, because he's like looking at Vey, and her like cleavage is like, it's just showing. But to him, he's like, I mean, I'm so used to Inaris where everyone just has their tits out, but for some reason this is more enticing, like the fucking the hiddenness of it. And I'm like, this is so strange, man.
Also, I love I don't love, but how this guy, like, they're out together, and this guy's just footing the bill for everything, and he like runs out of money.
Well, yeah, because he has no. You think this guy doesn't know how to budget? He doesn't even know what money doesn't mean anything to him. So he's just like,
just buying all the meals, getting the Ubers.
Yeah, this girl she's taking what she can get for sure.
Also, his reaction when they go to that party and like everyone's drinking and like he just gets obliterated because he doesn't usually drink.
Oh yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm gonna get there. I can't wait. Okay, so I'll speed up to the party. So
go.
Right before the party, they have this little chat, which is actually, it's a very progressive chat, where Vey thinks that these old morals need to be thrown out, and like people should just, like, this idea of like free sex, which is something that is on Inaris. Like, people they're very straightforward when it comes to like sexuality. She thinks that they need to start adapting that in Uras, and he even asks her like why she's okay with being inferior to men, and she completely disagrees with him, and she's like, well, men run the world, but women run men. And I'm like,
it's a bar.
Interesting. Yeah, she's she clearly, she knows what to do with her sexuality, and she knows how to get what she wants with it.
Yeah, clearly.
But yeah, she wants freedom from her own society, so she kind of envies Inaris in a way, but she doesn't want it in the way that Inaris has it. She wants it in like a really selfish way. You know, she wants what she wants, but she could give a fuck about anyone else.
Yeah.
And he tries to explain the weird. This is now the party is happening, so people are coming over, they're drinking, and I love how he's drinking alcohol, but his logic is so funny, because he's like, I see these guys drinking all the time, and they seem fine. So if I just drink like that, I'll just be fine.
Yeah, rookie move.
Yeah, how many times have we done that before?
Yeah.
Everyone's
I
done
mean,
that.
I've been there, but this guy gets obliterated.
Oh yeah, because especially I guess like future alcohol is just like it's dangerous because it's just like sparkling water. It doesn't even taste like anything. But meanwhile, you're just getting fucking juiced. And this is where he tries to explain his time theory to some people there, some people that are just like, this is stupid. It has no practical application. Like, if you can't get anything out of it, what's the use? And he absolutely roasts this guy, where he says, "Spoken like a true profiteer." And the guy took it as like a compliment. He didn't realize that he was
He was
being
like
insulted.
dissing him, yeah.
He's like, yes, I am.
So thank you very much.
He starts talking about how time is tied to ethics, which is really trippy. It kind of made me think a lot because he's talking about how the things you do in the past will affect your future, and all of that is tied into morality. And I'm like, wow, that's some shit, Shavek. This man's spitting.
Dude, he's spitting the whole book. This guy's got some good
Yeah.
lines.
And I mean, that's like what the whole book is really built around. It's like how your past informs your future and your future reflects your past. Like,
Yeah. Well, also even the way that the book
Genius.
is structured, how it's like the two timelines of like the past and the present, and like the past is like catching up to the present.
especially with it's like Memento in that way, but it's almost even better because at the end of every chapter, it kind of leads into what's going to happen in the next chapter. Like in the Uras timeline, he's thinking about something that happened in his past, and then the next chapter will just be that thing. And then in the past timeline, he's thinking about what the future could possibly be, and then it just goes to that thing. It's really brilliant.
Flows really well.
So, yeah, all the entire time he's describing and trying to explain it, he's getting absolutely shit-faced, and he just doesn't know. And he makes an errant comment about the war that's going on, which turns into just like this full-blown argument because he's trying to explain like what's the point of this war, and they're like, well, or what's the point of soldiers? And they're like, well, soldiers have to fight wars, and he's like, well, why don't you just not have wars, and then you just defeat the purpose? Like, it's a self-perpetuating purpose, and it just turns into this crazy full-blown argument. And he makes this amazing speech, like actually unreal speech about. He starts talking about the walls. He's like, the walls, they're closing in. It's almost like the Nick Cage and the Bees. That's what I got from that. But it was really moving. It actually made me super emotional. I'm like, this guy is going through it because he's just so drunk too. So it's just like word vomit.
Yeah, he's not holding back at all. It's just everything that he's been thinking and feeling since he's been there.
And then we get an insanely problematic scene.
Oh my god. Well, this
is hard to read.
Yeah. Well, this is the first thing before that is like everybody's sauced, and he's in that argument. He's kind of like cheesed, and then he's like looking around, and everyone just starts fucking, just like in the open.
Yeah, Vay's like, well, we need to leave, and then they go to the room, and he's like, and this is where like I could see like a woman reading this and being like, this is the most disgusting shit ever, but you have to put it into some kind of context, because to him, whenever a man and a woman are in a room alone, which never happens on Anaris, it only happens if they're fucking. That's the only time it'll ever happen. So the second they went into this room, he immediately goes into like fuck mind.
Yep.
And he's so drunk that he can't contemplate the fact that she's not about it. Although she is about it, that she's so down to cheat on her current husband, and she says, listen, like, we can set up a day, like, we can't do it right now, but like I'm down. And he's just like, nah, man. Like,
yeah. And then
men's need to bust.
He just nuts instantly.
Literally. And I'm like, this is so fucking weird.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck just happened? How dare you disrespect your wife? It's
so uncomfortable. But then afterwards he gets picked up by Hey and Oi, and he's drunk as shit. He can't see anything, and they're like making fun of him. They're like, look at this drunk idiot. And they're really pissed off because they kind of reveal their hand a bit. While Chev's drunk, they're like, we can just talk openly. They're like, where the fuck is this guy's theory? Like, we've been putting him up for months, and we've been doing everything for this guy, and he hasn't given us shit. Like, is he just bluffing? And they start digging through his shit to try to find it. And this is where it kind of gets revealed that Chev is being like messiahified by all these other countries, that all these wars that are breaking out, it's literally because of him being there, and he has no idea. So the stability of Uras in general is just like falling apart, and meanwhile Shev's just, you know, getting drunk and having mental breakdowns. But yeah, that pretty much that ends that chapter.
Yeah,
that was it was unreal, but really it sets up the rest of the book really. So chapter 8.
Okay, what's the title?
Oh, sorry, you want to say something for the last chapter?
No. What's the title that you got for this one?
I'm pretty proud of this one, honestly.
All right, let me hear it.
Birth of a child, death of a relationship.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
This is
a sad chapter.
This was a sad This is a sad boy chapter, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is a talk about going through it. This is like the darkest timeline. So, Takver, hyper emotional mess because she's pregnant and her hormones are all over the place, and she suspects that her own field is suffering from subliminal bureaucracy, the same way that Shev's physics field is, you know, being fucked over by Sabul and others in their little council. And also, there's just a massive drought, so water and food is at like an all-time low. Everyone is being conscripted into different kinds of work to, you know, stop them from literally dying out. And but Shevek completes his manuscript. However, Sabul is like holding it hostage. He just won't publish it. And he publishes this absolutely scathing critique, trying to tie it in with like Odo's principles to try to discredit his work, saying like, "Oh, this is some proprietarian, egoistic bullshit." And meanwhile, he's just trying to hold back the truth that it's, you know, he's clearly onto something here. And Shev's trying to share it, but, you know, his people just don't want it, which is kind of what spawns him going to Uras in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
So he releases a highly edited version with Sabul as co-author. This fucking scumbag.
Such a loser,
I hate this guy so much.
Such a loser.
He is the pinnacle soy jack fucking. Ugh. I like so much of me like wanted him to get comeuppance, but like that would defeat like the purpose of the mentality of the book. So I kind of get that, but it's just like
so unlikable.
Yeah, I just want like a B side of this book where he just gets fucking immolated.
just one chapter, he just dies instantly. Okay.
Yeah, they're like, there was a massive fire and Sabul was in it.
Send this guy to the dust.
The dust. However, he does sneak an original unedited version onto like a freighter ship with the hopes that it's going to reach Atro, the head scientist that he's talking to. And this scene is actually, this was so terrifying but so beautiful. So Takver just starts going through labor, handles it like an absolute champ. Like she's like standing up and like barely can move, and she's like, hey Shev, you might want to go get like the wet nurse. No worries, it's not like anything crazy. Meanwhile, in Shev's mind, he's like, holy fuck, she's gonna die. I need to fucking go find someone right now. And they have this really beautiful moment. You know, they persevere as a couple. Child comes out. The wet nurse is like, yep, she's in the wet nurse killed me. She was just like, yep, good job. Anyways, I got other shit to do.
Yeah, the dips instantly. You're like, okay, well, thank you.
And now here we kind of get the real explanation of the Anoresti like sexual relationships and just how relationships in general work. Like we've had little pieces here and there, but here is where it just really explains it, where monogamy is just not a thing, mostly because the way that their society is structured, people are constantly moving around. You know, your job is always changing. You're always going across the planet, so it's like staying in one tight relationship, it just puts so much stress, so people just don't do it in general. But the people that do it, it's even more rewarding because it's like a challenge, you know. And especially Anoresti, they love a challenge, which their whole society wouldn't work without it, because it's like, who would do the mining? Like, someone's got to do it. So
Yeah,
it's just like a flex. It's like, hey, I'm in a monogamous relationship.
The whole circumstances are just so sad, though, especially when they're like trying to find a way to stay together, and they're like, well, I got this job here, and he's like, oh, well, I have this job on literally the exact opposite side of the fucking moon or planet or whatever, but as far away as you can be.
And that's where this leads it to. Well, first, I will say, Chev loves his daughter, and he teaches her these cool little science things, like, while he's playing with her, which is really cute. But he has to leave for an emergency posting because food is so minimal that, I said it's an inverse of chapter 2, because it's like feast versus famine. So this is cool, though. It's another, I don't know if, I'm sure Ursula K. Leguin did this intentionally, but Chev literally experiences like the trolley problem in real life. I don't know. You know what the trolley problem is?
Yes, bro.
Right?
Everybody knows the trolley problem.
Okay, sorry, man.
My bad,
you didn't know what
my
fucking...
bad.
I'm just making sure.
Wait, I didn't know what was.
The Xenos paradox. You didn't know that one.
Okay, sorry. I'm not educated like you.
I'm not educated. I just read. You should try reading.
I read, bro. We're talking about a book.
I know.
Anyway,
So
continue.
he experiences a hungry trolley problem where he gets stuck on a train, and it crashes in, like, not crashes, breaks down in a town where they're also starving. So no one wants to share the food with each other, and it gets really tense for a while, where they think like the locals are gonna just storm the train and like take their shit, or vice versa. And it's almost like the grit and the glue that holds their society together is really being tested, because their whole thing is like all for one for all type thing, but it almost breaks in this moment, because hunger will do that to you. But he gets through it. He makes it back home, and then Takfur and Sadik, is it Sadik? I think, yeah, Takfur and Sadik are just not there, and it's just, it's so frustrating. Like, you expected this big reunion,
yeah,
and then just...
Is this also the chapter where the next door neighbor's like, so this guy's like going through it, and then she's like, oh, so like, I can have your crib now, or kind of like your spot. I'm like, bro, give him a minute.
No, well, she starts bitching because the same thing happened to her, and she's like, it's the government. They're doing this on purpose. They split people up. They don't want to. And it's like, she's kind of raving like a psycho, but also like, she might be right. Yeah. So it's like, you don't even know, but she is, talk about down bad. That girl is a menace. It's just, those people that they just complain about everything, and you're like, man, you might not be wrong, but it also doesn't mean I want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I agree, but you are annoying.
I don't know if we've mentioned Desar before. I think we might have, but he meets up with this guy again, who is this really probably autistic, to be honest. He speaks like very to the point and minimal sentences. But Shivek kind of has this moment of realization where Desar is actually in league against him. He's been like feeding shit to Sabul, and at least, to be fair, this is all just in Shivek's head, but he is right about it. It kind of just cements for him that like he's fighting an unwinning battle with the physics, not the physics syndicate, but whoever runs his area of expertise that isn't letting him publish his shit. And then he goes and confronts Sabul, like, finally, just point blank puts it out there. He's like, I haven't gotten any letters, any, critiques from Uras, like, what's going on? Like, I know you're holding something back. And Sabul's like, nah, man, you got to move on. Clearly your idea's not taking. Just accept it. You're being egoistic. And I'm like,
I hate when they bring that up for like the stupidest shit.
Stop egoizing. And it's like, I get it. It's what helps their society move to not egoize, but people weaponize that and they use it to just shut down anything they don't like.
Yeah.
And he decides to take the high road, accepts his fate begrudgingly, and he tries one final attempt to reunite with Takfur and Sadik at her job posting, but just to no avail. And he just finally he just talks to the girl that distributes labor, and even her, that was kind of like a nice conversation. This old woman who's like, he's trying so hard to get posted out there, and she's like, who's the girl? And he's like, yeah, I love her, but she's like, yeah, you might have to just take the L, man. And he just does. It's so sad.
Yeah, nothing you could do.
This next chapter, though.
Holy, yeah, this chapter I did not expect.
No, it's like crushing. So, brutal chapter title.
Yeah, what is it?
Out of the frying pan into the massacre.
Oh my god.
Because it is. He finally escapes, like, right? So, actually, this first part of the chapter might actually be the best, because he experiences a hangover for the first time.
Oh yeah, this is right.
And it just breaks his mind to the point where he kind of like hits enlightenment, and he figures out his theory. And he finds the missing link, but Pei arrives. They talk about the war with Thu and Bembili.
Yeah.
And he kind of this little fucker Pei. He kind of makes like an errant remark about this communication device that the engineers are thinking up about. It'll be like instantaneous communication across the universe.
How do you pronounce it? Is it Ansible? Ansible?
And I say Ansible, yeah.
Okay.
It could be Ansible, but I think Ansible sounds better. And he's basically like, hey man, we have this device ready to go, you just need to finish your theory and we'll get it running. And then as soon as he leaves, Shvek's like, you fucker. Like, even he kind of realizes that he's trapped, and they're clearly like, he's not in a good position. He's totally surrounded. And he ruminates on Pei a bit. He realizes that although that guy's power hungry and clearly an opportunist, he is the one who gave him Albert Einstein's, or this universe's version of Albert Einstein's Book of Relativity, and that kind of like was the key to unlocking his theory. Was this exotic physics from Terra helped him.
Shout out Terra.
And so, yeah, shout out Terra. So he kind of in a way thanks Pei, not thanks him, but realizes that he's very similar to him. He's just kind of like, he's like the dark timeline Shvek.
Yeah, more. He's like the definition of like the egoist.
Yeah, he's like the profiteer. Shvek if he went to the dark side. But so once he reaches this enlightenment, he's like, okay, I'm going to just pretend to be sick. And he tells the servant, he's like, don't let anyone in. And that he just starts meticulously working on this theory. And then finally, this guy, Efor, the servant, finally opens up to him after like so long of him trying to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
And he kind of learns the horror of underappreciated genius of the lower class, because this guy Efor is like a combat medic. Like, he's a fucking genius, but he's being relegated to being like a servant in a hotel.
Yeah, because he was like, I wanted to be a doctor, and they're like, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, and it's very much the opposite of Anaris, where in theory Anaris tries to give people the job that they're best at.
Yeah.
Even though that's revealed to be a bit of a fucking lie, because they do, because of the practicality of Anaris and how, they live in a fucking harsh desert, like what's his face? Tyrion, the playwright. Like, he makes this awesome play, but they're like, although this is what you're good at, it's not really what we need right now. But who's to say what you need and what you don't need? So that was kind of the whole little linchpin there. But back to Uras. Atro pops by, discusses the ethics of wars and soldiers. Actually, I think this is where he talks about, well, soldiers need to exist for wars.
Well, he has the one line where they're talking about it, and then Shvek's being like, "Yo, this is kind of fucked up for like the lower class. Like, you're just making them all die." And this guy's like
no, they want to.
When he's like, in regards to like the lower class, he's like, war is what they're for. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, spoken like a true upper class elitist snob. It's like the easiest way to think about it. It's like the golden rule thing. It's like, would you want to do it? If you don't want to do it, what makes you fucking think anyone else does?
Yeah, but it really shows like how they view the lower class as like almost like more than less than. They're just like, they're not even people.
Oh yeah, they're like fifth class citizens.
Yeah.
They just could care less. But But now we get some espionage action.
Yeah.
He secretly gets F4 to like break him out of his hotel prison, and he tries to find the origin of the letter that was in his pocket. And he even asks F4, he's like, "Where did this letter come from?" And he's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Dude, please, like, give me something." He's like, "Okay, go to this area."
Like, I do know, actually.
Yeah, he's like, well, he's trying to, important note, the room is bugged, and he sends a little note to F4, like, where isn't the room, and they go to the bathroom, the one place that isn't bugged, to have this conversation, and he breaks him out. He goes to a cabbie and gets the fuck out of there, and this is where finally he meets with this underground resistance movement, and he agrees to write something for them. And because they're like, you're exactly what we need. You're like, with your backing, the revolution can actually start. So he's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm down. Mm-hmm. He says he's down. And so this guy's named Tuio Medea. He's like the leader. And he kind of explains how the existence of Anaris is like the true hope for his people, because like all these ideas that they think couldn't exist are a reality, in theory, at least, on Anaris. And Chev is very dangerous because he is anarchism made flesh, and that is it really threatens to crumble the entire Urasti society, which really makes you think why they even let him come there in the first place. But I think they elaborate on that a little later. So there's this massive demonstration planned against the rising taxes, cost of living. Oh, this sounds very poignant to real life right now. Shit's rough.
Canada life.
But there's an internal struggle within the group of whether to be like non-violent versus violent. The leader is like, we can't resort to violence because then we're just as bad as the other guy. And the girl, who's like also kind of a semi-leader, a deputy, I'll say, is like, dude, but like, good words, words are wasted on fucking bullets if we're dead. It doesn't matter. Like, we need to do something. So they're really not unified on this front. But regardless, they march. They march with a massive crowd. Shevek makes this really awesome speech.
Yep.
That I guess this guy's just like a speech master. He doesn't even like try. He just puts this shit out.
He's just spitting at all times.
He's just that guy. And but as soon as he's finished his speech, fucking here comes the fucking Vietnam helis.
AC-130 pulls up. I was like, holy fuck, no way, this is what's gonna happen.
I was not ready, dude. There was one description that like horrified me. It was like, so people were just dying left and right, but because there were so many people packed closely together, they were still like standing. Like the dead didn't even fall, and I'm like, that is horrifying.
Yeah. And then there's also like the soldiers pulling up and just blindly opening fire.
Yeah, and like Chev dips, he runs, and there's a guy that's like, he's carrying a dying man, and they just have to hide out in like a room for like 3 days. This guy's just slowly dying.
Yeah, his hand like got exploded from like getting shot up.
And they're like sitting there talking, and he's like, "What do you think would happen? I hear police. Like, what do you think would happen if we went up to them?" He's like, "Oh, they'd shoot us instantly, dude." And he's like, "Oh man." So Chev's in a pickle. How is he gonna get out of this? He actually even tries to save the guy's life, but he can't really do anything about it.
Well, it's so sad. Because they were like huddled together for warmth, and then he like wakes up and he's just dead.
The last line of this chapter is brutal. The city echoes the silence of death. I'm like, psh.
Yeah.
Talk about a fucking rough go. So now we go from probably like the darkest chapter to like one of the happiest chapters. Yeah. Like real mood switch. This is a bit of a weak chapter title. It's corny, but I don't care. It's just reunited and it feels so good,
I like it. I'll let it slide.
Yeah, it's barely passing grade.
Yeah, this one starts off so happy because it's like but it's also like a little sad because it's like he hasn't seen Takver for 4 years. So
it hasn't seen his child for 4 years.
I was like, holy shit, bro! I didn't think it was gonna be that long. And then like the famine is just like super crazy.
It's still going. It's still going. Not as strong as it was the last chapter, but it's still like they're not out of the woods by a long shot.
And then this guy's job was to like make the list of like who they should let starve.
Yeah, dude, that is
So fucked.
God. Like, how do you do that, man?
And he was like, "Oh, I can't do this anymore." But he's like, "Someone else will do it because you get like extra rations if you take that job or something like that."
Brutal.
Yeah, pretty
But
fucked.
so he meets up with Takfer. Immediately sexual desire. He's like, holy shit.
Yeah,
He's like, yo, you're older. You've got some wrinkles, but damn, you're hot.
true love.
And he meets his daughter, who is smart as fuck. Actually, she's clearly takes after her father. Yeah, dude. They make some intense love of the functionality of sexual desire in the society. Like, this is something that I actually think is brilliant about Anoresti society. They understand that, like, people want to fuck. It's just a natural thing. So why you shouldn't, instead of like even in our society, like vilifying it and making it like as if it's not something that people want to do, as if it's not in the back of your heads. They're like, yeah, we have rooms for that. Like, you could just go and do that, and then bada boom, bada bing, there goes the tension.
Exactly.
But and they even in the next, I shouldn't say the next chapter, the next chapter, there's a little tidbit about that. But yeah, okay, I wrote this down because honestly this is some real shit. I think this is like the most moving relationship in a science fiction story I think I've ever read, and I wasn't even expecting it. Like, if you told me that this book had probably the best love story I've ever read, I wouldn't have believed you going into it. But like, I don't know, man, it's just so like it's so real.
Yeah, it's very real, very sweet. So I feel like it's not overly
Nothing's
dramatic,
forced, you know.
Especially in, like,
there's
we'll
no
get to it in this chapter, I think, but she's just
Yeah,
she's
we
like the
will.
most supportive partner I've ever read in a book.
Yeah, and it's not corny, you know. There's no like
No, it's very genuine.
you know, no stolen glances, no fucking a twinkling of the eyes. It's very practical, but it feels real, man. Like, it just feels real. It's like, damn, where's my Takfer?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Also, so sad, or it's like sad but sweet when his like daughter's like scared of him at first because like it's been so long and they were so young.
I mean, she was pre-consciousness when
Yeah,
the
she
last
doesn't
time
even
you saw
know
her.
him.
So
But then so he's like overly emotional. He's crying, and then she like goes up to him
doesn't understand.
and like gives him the handkerchief. I was just like, oh my god.
Oh man. Oh yeah, the reason I wrote this is the most moving sci-fi story is because it's when Takfer is like repeating to herself. She's like, he always comes back. He always comes back. I'm like, oh, so sweet.
This chapter.
So Takfer.
Okay, go.
Sorry, go. No, you go.
I would say this chapter also highlights one of like, at least like I would say the biggest like problems with Anorasi society. How they put like work before everything. So like how she was talking about like the syndicate that she worked for, and how they were like, hey, you should give up your daughter to the nursery so you can like work more. And she was like, what the fuck? Why would I do that? I definitely don't want to do that. So then they're just like, oh, you're not going to do that? And they start like calling her like a propetarian as like a slur.
Well, yeah, like this is another thing I really like about this book. It doesn't make Anoresti culture look like this ideal thing because it's an extreme, and it's an extreme in more than one way. Like, taking care of your children, like having your children live with you is considered like, oh, why are you holding on to your kid? Why do you have so much ego? Like, let your kid go. Like, that's what you did when you were a kid. You hung out with other kids.
Yeah.
You didn't really hang out with your parents because they were too busy doing shit because we need shit done.
But I'm just like,
It's
do
strange.
the people not at least have like, I know it's like different society. Like, you don't have empathy to be like, this person just wants to be with their child.
Truly no, and that's why it's not that they don't have it. They suppress it. They suppress the shit out of it, and that's how you get women like Rulog, fucking Shevek's mom, just being a piece of shit, because that's just what that mentality breeds.
It was
Very
yeah, and then you
sad.
get a wholesome little like slice of life of their family. I was like, this was really nice after the last chapter. I enjoyed that.
And so, oh yeah, this is cute. So they make so Tackford quits the institute and they move in together, and that shitty roommate dips, and then they talk shit about her too. They're like, yeah, she is a punisher. And pillow talk leads to Tyrion talk. This was cool, where he's like, hey, do you remember Tyrion? You know, the guy that fucking got sent to the psych ward because
He's free.
he just couldn't let go of his play. He's like, yeah, I ran into him recently, but he is an absolutely broken man. Like, and this is where Shevek has the realization that, like, this society is not right, and it's the society that broke him. It wasn't the people, and that's what needs to change. The built-in shame of conformity due to practical pressure, which is it's like the little, oh, this is cool, the little room where he's like, every Anaresti has a little room in our mind where we convince ourselves that we're free based off like what our ancestors did, but realistically we're not free because we're chained to conformity, and we're, even if it's like, hey, you if you have the initiative, you can do whatever you want, you can, but everyone else around you will shame you. So is that really freedom? It's not, clearly.
Yeah. Well, also talking about freedom, they were talking about how, well, because the whole thing about Anarasti society is like, oh, we're fully free, we're fully free. But then they're like, oh, it's like the people believe they're free, so they do what they're told, but they really are just following the orders of like the PDC. So it's like, are you really free? And it's like the fact that they all think that they're so free and everything they do is their own choice, like, kind of blinds them from the fact that they are still actually just like following orders.
Yeah, and actually, I wrote this down. I totally forgot to mention it from chapter 7. When he goes out with Vey and he goes shopping, and they go to an art place too. When Shevek's talking shit to that guy, right before that, there's a piece that is absolutely grotesque. It's a crown made of skin, and it's like there used to be this queen, this like tyrant queen, that would graft the skin of her enemies into a fucking crown. And she kind of represents like the start of like this hyper propagandarian culture of Uras. And she tells Shevek that when they left for Anaris, they thought they were free, but they really kept a little, I think her name was like Queen Terra something, I don't know. Well, she comments that every Anaresti, every Odonian that left has a little queen inside her that they can't really like condition out, no matter how much they think that they have. And him talking about this little room in their minds where they think they're free is basically that same thing. Yeah. The internal Sabul is what Shev calls it.
The internal
but
Sabul.
They're all talking about the same thing. And I love this is like that post-nut clarity that they're at this, because this is all pillow talk, and they're just like, they're getting their ideas out. And then this is where they have the idea of forming the printing press, and they're like, why don't we just make our own syndicate? We'll publish your principles uncut. We'll publish Badap's education studies, and we'll publish Tyrion's play. We'll just publish whatever the fuck we want, and they can kick rocks, because what are they really going to do about it other than be mad?
Yeah.
And Shev discovers his cellular function. This is like back to Odo's writing, where she believed that every human had a cellular function, which is why everyone should be doing the thing that they're good at, the thing they're passionate about. And he realizes his cellular function is to push forward. A true Odonian society is a constant revolution. And this is where current Anaris is stagnant, and he needs to, be that push forward.
Mm-hmm.
If you evade suffering, you also evade the chance of joy.
What a bar.
Really just spitting. And loyalty is what asserts the continuity between past and future, right? This idea of a promise, the promise to return, the promise to Tackford, the promise of an Odonian society to bring something better. All of these things are, this loyalty to that promise is, connecting the future and the past.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, like, he wants to do all this, like, for the better society, but then because he's doing this, a lot of the people in the society label him as, like, a traitor. Because, like, oh, you're going against everything we believe in. Because like,
and it's
they're
like really
yeah.
he's. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, like when he like goes to, uh, Uros, they're just like, yeah, you're dead to us if you go there.
Oh, that's next chapter.
Oh, is that the next chapter? Okay, I'm
Yeah,
too
yeah,
far
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Yeah, this guy's jumping ahead. It's
I'm
okay.
too excited.
But yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I'll be honest, this next chapter is probably my favorite chapter. I think this chapter 11, honestly, I have to pat myself on the back. A great chapter title. I did it. I just knocked it out of the park. I don't know what to tell
All right, what is it?
you. Terra's Paradise.
I like it.
Because this was like a huge eye opener.
This is when he like
for Shevek
fully
especially.
like full admission. When he's like, yeah, Uros is hell.
Yeah, this is the one. But it's such a good. Okay, so somehow Shevek escaped this massacre, and he goes to the Terran embassy. So Terra has an embassy on Uros. Let's go. And he's seeking asylum. And I forget this lady's name. Oh, Kang, that's her name. So
She kind of pissed me off.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like a lot of the people in this book that piss me off, I can chalk it up to they just don't understand each other. And I think that is like a big core tenet of this book, and it is a core tenet of what he realizes in this conversation with her. That Shevek realizes his theory can't be separated from his ideology, like that he learned from his world, and that's this missing link. But sorry, I'm getting ahead. I don't want to get there yet. So, she informs him that his people on Anaris are urgently trying to contact him, and Shevek gives the okay to let AIO know that he's here, even though they already know. He's just like, yeah, you can officially tell them that I'm seeking asylum with you guys. And she also tells him that Terra and Hain have been working together for like years now. And there's a Hainish ship that just permanently stays in orbit around Uras. I like that this whole series is called the Hainish cycle, but they're just like in the background.
Yeah,
you know?
especially in this book. Because I was looking into it.
Yeah.
Apparently some of them, they take like the lead, but...
Yeah, I think the Left Hand of Darkness is about a Hainish guy. But anyways, getting ahead. But the Hain are like this really old race of humans that have this guilt that no one even really understands. They're super altruistic and try to help everyone. But anywho, so this woman is like super moved by Shev's speech, and she asks him how he escaped. Dude, he literally escaped like Cold War Germany taxi style, like like a spy movie. He hides. When I say Cold War Germany, I mean like, you know, East Germany, West Germany. How people would like sneak across the border in like the back of underneath cabs and shit. That's literally how he escaped.
Legend.
And Uras clearly is a hotbed for revolution. And right before Shev even got there, people were already rising up and like trying to fight against power, which makes you even wonder, because he even compares it to a powder keg. It's like Shevek was the match. Like, why would they even bring him here if there was so much risk? And it was worth the risk for them because they want that interstellar travel so that they can use it as a weapon against the other planets of the solar system. The annihilation of space. That's a pretty metal line. That's what Shev calls it. Instantaneous space travel plus the Ansible communicator of instant communication. And this really blows Kang's mind, because she's like, wow, if we're able to do that, then like so much barriers will be broken, because they still do send messages to each other. It just takes years for it to get there because of how far away they are. And by the time a message reaches them, their whole mentality, their whole planet could be different, so they've never had this like live communication with the other planets, which would be absolutely game breaking for them.
Yeah.
And he kind of struggles with the dichotomy of he needing Uras to complete his work, but not wanting to sell his ideas so that the Urasi can leverage it against everybody else. So he's like, I want to give this freely to everyone. I want everyone to have this at the same time so that no one can use it against each other. This is a good line. He said, "I came here because my people will not look outward, so I'm making the other worlds look at us," which I will say, spoiler, by the end of the book, he definitely achieves his goal. And here it is. "I have been to hell. At least Dessar was right. Hell is Uras."
Yep. Full admission.
But what a clapback from the Terran saying, "You see this as hell, but to me this is a paradise."
Okay, this is where she pissed me off. She says it's a beautiful.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a beautiful paradise. I was like, bitch, this man is a fucking refugee from a mass murder just committed by the government, and you're telling this man it's a beautiful paradise?
Yeah, definitely a suspicious timing to make that comment.
I was like,
however,
you can't be serious.
But what she really, to be honest, she's talking about the entirety. Like, she's looking at the whole. Yes, what just happened was terrible, and she says, yes, this world is full of evil, but it's alive. This is an alive world. She's like, my world is fucking dead. Like, she's like, humans are strong, and we're still surviving with help from the Hain, but to her, she's like, Uras is the planet of what she dreams. It's the Earth of the past, really.
I like that they say that Earth got basically destroyed by its own population. I was like, yeah, that sounds like Earth.
Yeah, they ate themselves, which is what's happening right now, but we're just slowly crumbling. It said Earth is used up, destroyed. This is a good line too. "You Odonians chose a desert. We made one."
Damn.
Brutal. Which also just it tells you the mentality switch, right? It's like they chose a desert because anything was worth the freedom of being who they wanted to be, whereas Earth is had so much freedom that they destroyed themselves. Too much freedom.
Too much. Too much.
The Hain are infinitely generous. They're moved by a guilt that none understand. I find that interesting. This makes me want to read other books in the series because I want to know what the Hain are.
Yeah, I want to know the rest of the lore.
What got them there. But Chev tries to flip her mentality because while she's saying all this, she's like, this world's beautiful, and she said, "I envy it," and he's like, "There's your fucking problem, bitch. You're still trying to own this thing, You don't realize that your mind's not right. You don't believe in Inaris. We cannot come to you. You must come to us," because he has the theory, but it doesn't work with this propertarian mindset that even this Earthling has. Even in their desolation, she's still like, "I envy this place. I wish I could have Uras." It's like, why? So you can fucking destroy it like you did Earth? Until you fucking get your mind right, you're not going to get this.
Yeah.
And she's just dumbfounded by that. She even said, she's like, I don't understand you. Even though, I think she says, I know you're right, but I still can't compute the things that you're saying to me. And it's like, yeah, well, it's because you're dumb. I was telling you.
Yeah, that was literally me reading that.
But then he's like, hey, you think I can hitch a ride home? You think that's a possibility for me?
I got you.
And he's like, if you do, I'll give you the theory. Actually, he doesn't even say it like that. He said
I'll
he'll
just
give
give it
her
to you
the
for
theory
free,
anyway. Yeah, he's like, I'll give it to you anyway. Also, a ride home would be nice. It's almost like a bonus. And he's like, he even thanks her. He's like, thank you for giving me the opportunity to go home, even though I'm giving you nothing. And she's like, you call this theory nothing? And the great line, weigh it in the balance of the freedom of one human spirit, which is heavier. I can't tell. I'm like, damn, dude.
Bro, the writing in this book is so great.
Oh, dude. Ursula she's cracked, man. She's one of the greatest. And I say it I don't even want to say I think she's the greatest female author, but I still think that's belittling it. She's just one of the greatest authors, period. Her prose is one of the strongest I've read.
Very good.
But yeah, here's the thesis is that Chev's theory cannot be understood without also connecting the idea of Anarestu society as a whole. You can't separate the theory from the world that made him, which is why he's like, people need to come to us. I can't come to them. This chapter title is a reference that I don't think you'll get.
Okay, hit me.
But it's okay. It did it for me. It's a Radio Free Anaris. because there's a book by Philip K. Dick called Radio Free Albumeth, and it doesn't really connect to it. It's just I thought the name sounded similar. So weakest title.
I don't read books.
0 out of 5.
I don't get the reference.
Yeah, clearly not. This is your first one, right?
I just learned how to read.
Yeah, honestly, you got a strong start. We'll make a reader out of you yet.
Okay, so this is when they say what I was saying before, where they're like anybody that leaves Anaris.
Because it time skips forward like a lot. I think almost to where the beginning of the book is at this point.
But, they were being a little extra when they're like, yeah, anyone who leaves Anaris is not allowed back past the wall. And
they're fucking Rulog, bro. And then, this bitch comes back.
And then they're like, oh, if you do come back, there will be violence, and it'll be your fault. I was like, bro, chill. Like, you're the man who's doing the violence.
Literally, it's like the Spider-Man meme, right? They're like pointing at each other, and he's just like, if you do this, I'm gonna fuck you up.
And it'll be your fault.
And if I fuck you up, it's you. It's your fault.
You made me do this. I was like, bro, relax.
Oh, I hate that, dude. I'm getting flashbacks to my childhood now. It's like, don't want to get too deep there. All right, back to the book. So, Badap, this guy, I love Badap. Honestly, he might be my favorite character in the book. He just is so consistent. He's a real one. He's kept it 100 with Shivek from childhood. Like,
yeah, he's a day one.
Yeah, he's a day one. He also was like, hey, like, do you want to fuck every once in a while? And Chef's like, I guess so. But anyways.
Day one, bro. Your day ones don't do that?
Shit, I guess I'm missing out.
Okay, moving on.
So, Badap, this guy is fighting the good fight every day in what their version of Congress is. I say Congress-esque because it's not really Congress. It's just a way to throw ideas at each other. For the Syndicate of Initiative, which is their own syndicate. That's their thing. They're like, I love the name, too. They're like, we're fucking taking initiative. We don't care. You guys can do all your other shit. We run our own ship. And they've been receiving radio signals from, guess where? Ben Billy, the place that is in a revolution in the future timeline. So they talk about Ben Billy as a post-settlement Odonian society. And he's like, listen, there's Odonians on Uras that really want to come here. Like, we need to let them in. And Rulog, this bitch, is like, oh, we're just going to let spies in now? We're just like, what? One profiteer comes, and then next thing you know, we got rats everywhere, you know? That's her whole thing.
She's so annoying.
Oh, God, I hate her. Because really, honestly, she just hates the fact that Shev is successful because it looks bad on her. And it's like...
Yeah, she had no part in it.
Man, yeah. It's like, just take the L. Like, Shev is a genius. This guy's a prophet. And you're a fucking waste suit. So just accept that.
So, like, after this chapter, it made me hate her even more from, like, the previous chapter when he meets her again. Yeah. And she's kind of just like, yo, we can be chill now because I'm old and depressed and I miss having an intimate connection with someone. I'm like, oh my God. If I read this chapter first, I'd be fucking ripping my book in half. I'd be like, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, she... Honestly, if there's an irredeemable character in this book, it's probably her. Like, I even think Sabul is somewhat redeemable compared to her.
Yeah.
Because he is really... I mean, they're both products of their environment, but I think she has a lot less of an excuse to be the way she is. She's just a shitty person.
Yeah.
And this is I don't know if... This is probably another parallel to, like, communism, because this is giving me, like, Red Scare vibes, where it's like, oh, everyone's a spy. Like, we can't trust anybody. We can only trust who's here. And we can't even trust all of you because clearly you guys are fucked. And it's like, man, the paranoia is real.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they worry about opening the floodgates to the IOD profiteers. And so they're like, okay, counterpoint. What if we send one of ours to Uras? And Rulag's like, yeah, you can do that. Can't come back, though. It's a one-way door. And they're like, okay, whoa. The Odonian, like, their, like, legislature, they're not legislature. It's more like their, like, rule. I guess that is legislature. I'm an idiot. Okay, anyways, their legislature is like, yeah, we don't let any Urasti in. And her thing is, well, if you leave Anaris and go to Uras, you're Urasti now, so we're not letting you back. And they're like, dude, that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, that's so semantic. Like, and A great line from Badap where the guy threatens violence. He's like, if you leave, you best believe, like, when you come back, you're getting your shit kicked in. And he's like, is that clear? And Badap is like, clear no, plain yes, plain as a fart. Get fucking shit on, dude. And then this old head, this is a nice scene. This old head just drops some knowledge on them. This little old farmer, he's just kind of talking really quietly, but everyone like quiets down to listen to him. And he says, basically, free your mind of earning and deserving. Because these guys are saying, oh yeah, you deserve to be fucked up if you come back. You haven't earned this. And he's like, you can't think about life as earning and deserving. It's all for one or it's nothing. And everyone shuts up and listens to them, and it's a cute little scene.
Mm-hmm.
If an individual can't work in solidarity with his fellows, it's his duty to work alone. That is where, like, they're kind of just hammering home the point of, you know, clearly you guys don't want my theory, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth something. Just because you guys, you don't get to decide that, you know. I do, because it's our individual freedom to do what we feel is right. So, you know, take the L. We're going to do what we want. And if that makes you guys upset, that's your problem.
It's like, so be it.
Takfor quits her fish lab. That's another thing, because, again, this is so shitty, but the society is, like, really coming down on them, where everyone hates Chev and what he's doing. So
by association.
They extend that hatred by association to Takfor, and then
even their daughter.
That's actually heartbreaking, but it's so real. Sadik is all grown up, which is also really cute because she's clearly a smart girl. But Sabul also, this guy comes crawling back from the woodwork, like, oh, I'll offer you a position in the physics department, you know. And he's like, really? He's like, yeah, we'll publish your stuff too. And they realize that this is a trap, though, because it's a way to, by legitimizing Shevek, they delegitimize the syndicate by saying, like, oh, this guy was led astray by some, you know, dissidents, but now he sees the light. And it's like, okay, you can't accept that. It's like poison pawn in chess. Like, you can't do it.
Yeah, this guy's busting out the chess terms.
And then this is so sad. Sadik starts talking to Chev about, he's like, hey, do you think, like, I can sleep with you guys tonight? He's like, whoa, what's going on? It's like, the kids, man, they torture me, like, basically mental torture. They exclude me, they shit on me, and like, the leaders don't do anything about it. They just let it happen because
they'll call
I'm
them a traitor.
Oh man, and she's just, and it's true, man, dude. Honestly, here's me talking. There's nothing quite like the cruelty of children. Children can be, like, really, I almost see, like, children show, like, the best and the worst in humanity, honestly, because sometimes, like, they'll say something so beautiful, and then other times they'll just be just ruthless because they just haven't developed that, like, empathy yet. It's fucking sad.
It's like at the start of the book when they discovered the prison. You're just like, damn, these kids can be fucked up if they want to.
Clearly. And they share the intimacy of pain where they, like, have a little hug. And this kind of flashes back to the chapter 2, Shevek's little monologue at the end of his party, where he says, like, the one thing that connects all of us is shared pain. That's, like, the ultimate bond. And I'm like, damn, coming full circle, buddy. And Badap, this is a follow-up, Dak, because Badap is there the whole time. He's, like, walking with them, and he's just standing there while they're having this intense moment. And Badap, in his own head, is like, you know, I'm a meddler. I've always been meddling in other people's lives because I don't have one. I never took the time. And I'm like, damn, dude, like, what a warning sign to others. Like, just, you know, do something with your life. Don't get to age 40 and realize that, you know, you haven't done shit, because it'll fucking crush you. Sadik also, she has a really acute understanding of the need for adult privacy. This is another thing of Einaresti culture that I think is actually smart, where because they all have this dorm-style living, even kids live together, and because they get separated from their parents, the bonus is that the parents can, you know, still be intimate without it being awkward. Their kids are just everywhere, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Sadik even understands this, and he's like, "Listen, it's not a problem. I don't, I can give up fucking your mom for one night to make out." It's like fucking brutal. So yeah, both his kid and his wife are being branded traitors by association, which is so unfair. And Chev realizes this. He's like, I'm the problem. It's me. He does his best Taylor Swift impression. And he just has to accept that his existence in proximity to his family is just, it's going to put them in danger. And he needs to find a way around that. And Takfur is like, go to Uras then.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be you.
Well, I love how supportive she is, because he's like, you know what, I'm not gonna go. Like, and she's like, no. She's like, you have to go.
Even at the end of the chapter, even at the end, they're like having the talk. She's like, okay, you're gonna go to Uras. He's like, dude, don't be silly. Like, I'm not doing that. She's like, yeah, I'm going to bed. He's like,
She's like, she says the thing that you were talking about before. She's like, I know you'll come back. I was like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Well, because that's his thing. He's like, well, what if I can't come back? She's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, maybe Uras will keep me there. Maybe and arrest you when I come back. They might fucking kill me on the spot. And she's like, you'll come back. Like, you'll figure it out, dude. You've always figured it out. Like, the true trust. Like, it's beautiful. So yeah, he decides to roll the dice on potentially not being able to come back. This also makes the first chapter make a lot more sense when he's leaving and people are literally trying to kill him even when he's leaving.
Yeah.
It's like all of this is coming around. And Takfur, great line. She says, worst case, we'll make an Anaris beyond Anaris. She's like, if it's not safe here, we'll go to the mountains, it'll work out. And so he takes the dive.
Wait.
And sorry,
I was gonna say, what do you have for the title for the next chapter? The last chapter.
Oh, last chapter. I had to hit you with a good one for the last chapter.
All right, yeah, ended off nice.
Direct quote from the book. True voyages return.
Nice, fitting.
So Chev is on this heinous ship, really cool design ship compared to everything else he's been on. It's very livable. It strikes and this is where like the Hainish themselves are kind of their own little yin yang, where he says they strike the balance between opulence and austerity. He's like, they're not as bare bones as us, but they're not as over the top as Uras.
Yeah,
they're
it's
just,
a balance.
They strike
Well,
a nice
like,
balance.
Uras and Anaris are like such extreme opposites.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, maybe there is something in the middle ground.
Yeah, they're the living example. They're a very somber, meditative people. They're like monks, which is kind of cool. He knows the landing is going to be really risky. After he has a little radio conversation, and he's like, "There's enemies waiting for me, but also there's more friends than when I left," which kind of what's her face, Takfur. Another way to try to convince him to go to Uras is she suspects that they have a lot more support for their syndicate than they think, but they just haven't done anything yet. So as soon as they do something, people will come out and support more, which it seems to be true based on this information he just got. And Ketho, this is the Hainishman, decides, he's like, yeah, I'm going to come down to Anaris with you, or Anaris. And Chev's like, really, dude? Like, are you sure? Because you could die. Like, it's really risky. And he's like, yep, it's actually my duty to explore new worlds if I have the opportunity. Because I think in the other books, the Hain are trying to, like, make this... Actually, they do mention it a bit in this, the United, like, Planets. It's like a United Nation of planets. And so if they have an opportunity to explore a new planet and, bring them into the fold of their altruism, they're going to do it. And Chev is like, okay, I'm just making sure this is what you want, right? Like, there's no ulterior motives. No one's telling you. He's like, no, I've always been fascinated. He's like, I've read all of Odo's works. He kind of blushes a bit. He's like, he's a little nervous. He's like, but I just want to see, like, the society with my own eyes. And Chev realizes that this refusal of foreigners it's building more walls, and he just really wants to break through that, because it happened before where Urasti wanted to, or the Hain or Terrans, I think, wanted to come to Anaris, but they kind of reworked their legislation and said, well, the legislation specifically states no Urasti can come to Anaris. So they're like, oh, so then other, aliens are free game. And they're like, well, no, everyone's a foreigner, so we're not letting anyone in. So he's like, fuck that.
Shit.
We're going to break through this. And this is just another way for them to shake things up, which is what his syndicate, that's the whole point, is to try to get people to think outside of their little brain boxes that they've built for themselves. Freedom is never very safe. That's the quote that he tells Ketho. But Ketho's like, I'll risk it for the biscuit, man. And this is a really good quote by Ketho. They say nothing is new under any sun, but if each life is not new, each single life, then why are we born?
Damn.
Deep, dude. And his hands were empty, as they always have been.
I thought that was such a fitting conclusion, to return home with empty hands.
Yeah, it's almost like as above, so below, as there was, so come again. It's a perfect. Honestly, this book was. I knew it was going to be like a perfect circle. That was clearly what it was leading up to, and it just stuck the landing.
Yeah.
Like,
the way that like the timelines converge, I thought was like, because just like all the themes kind of like you said, come full circle, and you get the whole picture.
I wasn't even sure how she was going to end this, like, in a way that made sense. I'm actually really happy that I really thought that based off of earlier chapters, I thought Takfur was like dead.
Yeah, so did I.
Like, I thought something really bad happened to her, but really it's just this man is just a lover man, and he just really missed her. That was it.
Yeah, I thought she was dead for sure. Like, I thought she was dead before he even left.
Yeah, me too. I thought that was what caused him to leave, actually. But I'm happy to be wrong in that regard. Not everything has to be hyper grimdark. Like this book has its dark moments, but I think overall it's a positive message.
It's very hopeful. Yeah, very hopeful. Hopeful but realistic.
Is a good way to put it.
Because it's not like, oh, everything he went over there and fixed everything. Now the planets love each other. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's like not tied up.
It's very on the nose, like capitalism, communism critique, but it treats both sides fairly. It really doesn't give each side any leverage. It's just like, here's the way it is. There has to be a balance.
That's what my biggest concern was at the beginning, because you start on Anaris and they're just talking about how like shit Uras is, and I was like, oh, they're gonna like frame this as a utopia, but that's like not the case at all. I feel like the whole, not the whole point, but like one of the many themes is like, there's no such thing as a utopia. Like, every society is going to be flawed.
Yeah, because a utopia, it presupposes that, the society is done. It's like we figured everything out. But there is no, true Odonism is a constant revolution. So you can't ever stop. There's always a way forward. It's never this is it. So even like most utopias in narratives in general, any stories, are really just inverse dystopias. They're still dystopic in nature. Like Brave New World's a perfect example.
Yeah. I've read that.
I have not read that. I just know that, but I just have not read it actually.
Yeah, maybe pick up a book sometime.
Okay, that was fair. Fair roast. All right, well, this has been The Dispossessed. Great book. If you haven't read it, you should do it immediately. Up next, what are we reading next, Luke?
Hold on. I just said it. Pet Sematary by Stephen King.
Pet Sematary. I am not a horror guy, so I'm probably going to shit my pants, but I'm pretty excited to do that.
I'm excited. I love horror books. It's been a while since I read Stephen King, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, ever since Negative Space, I've never been the same. Thanks for that one.
Yo, we should have done that. That actually...
I don't want to reread it. I'm actually good.
Oh, I fucking love that book. Okay, yeah. I'm excited for Pet Sematary. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun. All right. Ciao, folks.
Goodbye, everybody.